admin as well, but please make sure you share it with somebody so that they can also benefit from this webinar. I would like to specially welcome every single one of us to this call. I know it's a Sunday and people typically take out today to rest, to relax, and it's so good to have us join the webinar today. So a big welcome to you. Please share the link. We're going to put the link in the Zoom chat so you can share it with your friends, your family. Tell them to join us. Tell them to come and understand what a career in DevOps is all about. So it's really good to have us. So before we start, it'll be good to know the people in the audience. So if you could just tell us your name, your location, and your reason for joining. If you can just do that in the chat box, that would be very helpful. So tell us your name, your current location. Are you in Lagos? Are you in Coventry in the UK? Are you in the United States? Wherever you may be, just tell us in the chat box. So tell us your name, your location, and your reason for joining. Okay, so I can see some people. Please, by the way, this entire webinar is recorded and it's also streamed on YouTube. So if you're not comfortable with being recorded and being streamed, please you can just be aware, please. We want to make sure that you're comfortable with that. Okay, so cool. So now I can see people's names. So we have Damiloju from United Kingdom. Okay, we have Bolaji from Lagos. We have Santosh from India. Good to have you. And then we have Damiloju is looking to get a DevOps role. That's amazing. We have Bolaji. Yeah, Bolaji is one of our alumni. He is in the UK. And we have Timothy, who stays in Lagos. We have Henrietta, who is in Nottingham, sorry. We have Akinkumi in Lagos. We have Omolara in UK. We have Ashok in UK. We have Chidera in Scotland. Alex in Abuja. We have Olayinka from Edinburgh. We have Ogaga in the UK. We have Sam, who is in Lagos. Currently a tech engineer working with Microsoft Azure, and you want a DevOps experience. You're in the right place, okay? Akinwumi from Nigeria, Paul from London, Taufik from Leeds. Nice to meet you. Abdulatif from Lagos, Adiola, United Kingdom. We have Faj from Sweden. We have Jason, Lagos. We have Love from Ibadan. That sounds like a statement. Love from Ibadan. I like that. Anyways, yeah. So it's really good to have us here. Please keep the introductions coming. Please share the link with someone or your contacts. You don't know who this this webinar could, greatly benefit. Okay, Ogaga, Lagos. Okay, your mind is in the UK already. That's fine. Okay, we have Oriade from Lagos, a mobile developer interested in DevOps. Yeah. So it'd be good to see your reason for joining as well, it will help us, So Toby from Nigeria. Yes. Nice to meet you all. Nice to meet you all. So welcome. I mean, keep the introductions coming, even if you're just joining. Tell us your name, your location, and your reason for joining this webinar today. So I'm so excited to have all of us here. And of course, as you guys can see, our guest speaker is here already and is obviously all prepared and ready to share with you, insights about cloud DevOps. So just to get started, I would like to share with you our reason for hosting this webinar. So the purpose of this webinar is to discuss the cloud DevOps job markets. So for those of us that don't know, the host of this program is a company called Cloud Booster Academy. We are a training company. We help people to transition into tech, regardless of your background, particularly into the cloud DevOps space, because there is a demand for cloud DevOps engineers globally. So the purpose of this webinar is to understand the cloud DevOps job markets. So what exactly, when we say that there is a demand for cloud DevOps engineers, what does that mean? How big is the demand? How can you get involved? Those are the things I want to talk about today. So it's going to be interactive, even though, of course, we'll have the session where our guest speaker, whom I will introduce shortly, will share with you about his experience and about the future, the trends and all of that. But we'll still have a session where you would get to ask us your questions. So please get ready for that. Okay, so we'll discuss the current for cloud DevOps professionals and the skills that are in high demand. Share with you about that. And then you will let the current demand for cloud DevOps professionals.
Oh, say that again, please.
Employer and he will tell you what exactly are employers looking for. People that are trying to recruit into the cloud DevOps space, what exactly are they looking for? Okay, and then you would also learn, how to prepare for a career in cloud DevOps. So we'll be talking a lot. It's going to be focused a lot around the trends. The trends. What exactly is happening globally, and how can you position yourself? If you want to really experience a lot of success in life, you need to understand the trends. You need to understand where the world is going to. And when you can see that a trend is going upwards, you align yourself with it. I remember I was reading the story of Jeff Bezos one time, and he was like, before he started Amazon, his thought process was like, oh my God, like this internet thing that just started is becoming really big, and it looks like it's going to be the next big thing. So why don't I build a store on the internet? Why don't I ride on that trend? And then if I do that, I know that as the internet is blooming and is becoming more widespread, it means that my business, which is built on the internet, is also going to be growing. This is similar to how you should position yourself as a professional. So if you want to go into tech, you want to make sure that you are in a field that is in demand and would always be in demand 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, even 40 years from now. That way you can be assured that no matter what happens, you will not be out of the market. So these are the things that we're talking about today. So please share the link with your contacts on Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. Just share it. Just bring one more person, and then we'll get started. So just a little bit of the introduction. So we have Ade from California in the US. We also have Olaide from London, who is curious about cloud career. We have Michael from Ibadan, who is open to new learning. We have Jobina from Nigeria, hoping to get a cloud DevOps role. We have Omaomi from Lagos, business development executive, and wants to learn cloud DevOps basics. Okay. And then we have Julius from Nigeria, who is an IT engineer. Amazing. We have Olawale from the UK. So we have a good number of people who are in Nigeria and people in the UK as well. Without too much ado, I'm just going to go straight into the introduction for today. So today we have our guest speaker, who is Emmanuel Iheanacho. He is currently an associate director in Accenture in the UK. I feel like I still work with him, but I started my cloud career working with him. Emmanuel has been in the tech world for over 20 years, over 2 decades. So you can be assured that everything that he's sharing today is from facts, figures, and experience. He has seen the tech industry grow. He has seen, many different things happen within the tech world. He started off as a very technical person, a developer. So he knows all the technical nitty-gritty, and now he has risen. He's an associate director in the UK, in Accenture in the UK, and is doing really well. And he's very passionate about Africans particularly. He's very passionate about creating opportunities, for Nigerians, both Nigerians in the UK, Africans generally, in the UK, in diaspora, or Africans in Africa. So without too much ado, I would like you to please welcome Mr. Emmanuel Iheanacho to speak to us today about a cloud DevOps career. What are the trends in the DevOps space? So please, can I see your welcome in the chat box, please? You have to say welcome, welcome, welcome. We're excited to have you. Welcome, Emmanuel. We're excited to have you. Can we have that in the chat box? Otherwise, we will not start. So tell us, welcome, Emmanuel. We're excited to have you. Can we have that in the chat box? Yes, amazing, amazing. Good. You guys are ready. Now you're ready. Emmanuel, over to you.
Wow. I hope I can match your energy, Solar. Yeah, Solar's got. I used to call her Solar Power when we used to work together, because her energy is amazing. So I just grab a bit of water. Hi everyone, how you doing? Amazing. I can see a lot of stuff in there. Cool. Yeah, thank you for that intro. So that's amazing. Yeah. And I'm so very happy to be here with all of you guys on a Sunday. I can see about 85 people have joined, which is amazing. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. I'm not really going to spend too much time talking on slides, but I'll go through it, give you guys a lot of time to ask some good questions, and then we can take it from there. Right. Let me just share my screen, and then we could have a chat. All right, there we go. Good stuff. Okay, so let's talk about a career in DevOps. The key thing about DevOps, I think, is I'd like people to get away from the buzzwords. I know some people say, oh, I remember, actually, I'll give you a very simple anecdote. I remember going to a client one time and I said, oh yeah, he said, what are you here for? I said, oh yeah, I'm here to talk to you about a transformation project that you guys have. And it's a transformation project from where you are now into a more DevOps centric way of working. And the guy turned to me and said, well, I don't know what you're doing here because we have Jenkins and Jira. We're already doing DevOps. What are you doing here? And that's one of the sort of nuances. That's one of the issues with having these buzzwords. People tend to lash them onto things that probably are just a very small section of it. So he had some tools, and in his mind, just having those tools made him DevOps enabled. And this is what we tended to see at the early stages of this, if you like, this movement of making sure that all projects were following the DevOps processes through delivery. And I say that very interestingly, but you can also see that I have a lot of tools here. It does require tools, but it's not just about tools. DevOps is, in my view, a way of working, a cultural way of working. It's a way of providing or enabling everything that you do in development to also link into the operations of what you've built from the development side. And if you're using the same sort of disciplines, you're using the same sort of tools, even the same sort of ideas, not necessarily the same team, but you're all working together, you'll find that you have this, and that's why I've got this picture here, this continuous loop of you're always building, you're planning, you're replanning, you're doing continuous integration, you're deploying, and then you're operating what you've built. And as you're operating what you've built, you're monitoring that automatically and giving some feedback back again into the plan to say, okay, actually, we've been running this for about 3 months. Here are some issues that we found through. We can fix those, we build again, and so on. That's why you've got this sort of infinite loop, which is has become the sort of moniker for DevOps over the years. You're going to have different tools. Different things will slot into different areas of DevOps. So as part of storing your code, you've got software configuration management tools, or as we used to call them, or version control tools, okay? You've got build operators or build orchestrators. You've got testing tools. You've got tools that cover off the spectrum of vulnerability scanning. You've got tools that allow you to chat amongst each other. So Slack, Mattermost, those sort of tools. So it's very important, yes, that we have the tools in place, but if you have tools and you don't have good practices, then you're not really doing DevOps. Okay, that's the sort of theory bit all gone. What we're here to talk about today is around really the trends that we're seeing in DevOps, or rather the trends that I'm seeing in DevOps and I've been seeing for a while. And hopefully a lot of these things will resonate with you if you're already in the field. But if they don't, you know, we're happy to take and discuss questions on these further down the line. So I've got 8 trends I'll talk through on this for now. The first one is kind of linking a little bit to what I was saying at the beginning. So DevOps, cloud, SRE skill sets, these things everyone knows at the moment are very valuable for projects doing software development, in fact, software delivery. But what's tending to happen now is that where you used to have just a DevOps team or cloud experts or SREs, these are now merging and working more closer to the engineering teams. In fact, there's some of them are even being called engineering teams. In the last project I worked on, I was the DevOps and engineering lead. And what that meant is everything around the engineering of the infrastructure, the tooling, the environments that are created, the way that things are being deployed, the automation, I was leading that. Now, it means also that the buck stops with me. That's the first thing. If anything goes wrong, hopefully when things go right, I get the kudos, or rather my team gets the kudos. But the important thing is that I became the link between my team, who were mainly just DevOps guys and cloud engineers, but also linking them to, let's say if the customer owns the data center, you got to link into those engineers as well. And your ways of working will start to be absorbed by those guys. I've done a lot of DevOps projects, more recently quite a lot in the FS industry or the financial services industry. Financial services are notorious with being quite slow to adopt modern engineering practices or modern engineering tooling. But what they're very quick to adopt is good practice. Now, most of the time, they've got their own tools, but are they using them properly? Are they doing things automated? Are they in the position where they can delete things and recreate them in exactly the same way? And to do that, you need to be working with a DevOps mentality. And that's where I always say that the culture of DevOps starts to be absorbed, if you like, by those teams that you work with within the client base. So that's one thing to have in mind. Culture is important. Another trend that I've seen as well, and again, it's worth calling out that this, I've mostly seen this in the FS industry, is this idea of using multiple cloud providers. People don't want to put all their eggs into one basket. Sorry, Amazon. I know that we've worked a lot together, but there's Azure, there's Google Cloud, there's IBM Cloud, there's Red Hat they had their own for a while until they were bought by IBM. You've got Oracle Cloud. So all these different clouds are available for people to use. The government even have their own, right? Cloud.gov, right? Now, the key thing here is that a lot of customers are looking to go towards cloud agnosticity. And what does that mean for a DevOps engineer or someone in DevOps with trying to get in the DevOps sort of career stream? It means that you have to learn a lot. It means that you have to understand what the services are in AWS and what the equivalent services are in Azure, for example, and what the equivalent services are in GCP. It means that you may need to get the certification across all of them. I'll talk about certification in a minute. It means that you have to be in the position to architect, to work as an architect and say that something that you design in one and deliver into one cloud can be used and delivered into another one. Okay, so cloud agnosticity, if I can get the word out, is important. It's coming. In fact, actually, a lot of people ask for that when you respond in RFIs nowadays. The next thing, and this is just a very standard thing, the gender divide is still there. The workforce is heavily balanced towards the male side of the spectrum. Very simple, because most of the time in IT, it has always been a man's sort of, if you like, realm. This is starting to change. This is starting to change also at the leadership level, which is trend 4. But the key thing I want to say about trend 3 is this, and I only learnt this fairly recently. I've been writing job descriptions for DevOps engineers, and I've been writing them. So that means that the job descriptions that I've been writing have been biased based on my view of what a DevOps engineer should be. And most of the times, if I'm honest with you, I'd get 1 or 2 women responding for the job. I think we've got someone writing on the screen here, guys. Don't know what's going on. Anyway, let's crack on. What I want to say, though, is that in order for us to do better, we have to look at the language that we use in job descriptions. We have to look at the language, in fact, that we use within the teams. We probably also have to look at the language that we use within the realm of the tools that we have, the language that we use in conversation within the world of DevOps. This has to be inclusive language. And I think for a long time, it hasn't been. This isn't really a gender sort of, if you like, point, but if you think about something like Jenkins, and this is where language is very important. Over the years, when it was Hudson and became Jenkins, they had this notion of the main controller machine or the main orchestrator machine being called the master. And every other machine that you ran things on was called a slave. That type of language has got to go, right? And in the same way that we talk about things in a very masculine way in our job description, we also need to be very cognizant that that alienates a certain part of the community, namely women. That said, I've worked with a lot of women in the DevOps industry. Solo's one of them, and she's flying high. And these are people who are actually a force for good and force for change. And you'll find that as we move into 2023, further down and further into the 20s of the 2000s, we're going to be seeing a lot of female leaders in this space and in other spaces in the tech industry. Trend 5, security. When I started working in a lot of projects and doing some, if you like, some responses to projects and some sales, what I tended to find was for DevOps, they'd leave it towards the end and say, oh, we've done all that stuff, we've resourced all the people. Oh, we need some DevOps stuff. Emmanuel, can you give me your quotes? And it was always left towards the end. And that to be honest, used to vex me, I won't lie. And I thought, well, hang on a second, you need to bring this to the front. You need to create, effectively, you need to create your project based on how the DevOps plan is going to be. What's the ramp up? How quickly can we get on? Now, the same thing has been happening for security. We've always left that towards the end. What do we do about security? Right? The important thing here is this: the world is changing. Everything is now online. If you're not thinking about security first, you're in trouble. Very simple. And as a DevOps engineer or DevSecOps engineer, you need to be in a position that you can understand what the trends are in security, how to make sure that you're ahead of the game, the type of tooling you need, the type of solutions you need to put in place to make sure that your clients' solutions are secure, the remediations for security issues, and also, more importantly, how to avoid problems. It's all good knowing how to fix something, but if you can avoid it, that's even better. Now, from an individual level, you also start to think about your security. If you're going to be working on a project that is quite high profile, you may not want to post that on LinkedIn. You may not want to talk too much about it. And also from the organization point of view, what they'll look at as well is, are you security cleared? Can they actually employ you without taking on too much risk? That is one of the key things and the key trends that's been happening now. So if you're a DevOps engineer and you're looking to really stand out, get yourself security cleared to certain levels. There's a lot of roles out there for security cleared DevOps people, especially in the financial and gov space. Okay? And most projects now, because everything's become security centric, they're going to want some sort of security clearance I can see coming in the future. I talked a little bit earlier around certificates or certifications. Yes, do them. It's important. It usually shows that you've got a grasp of a platform or tool or a way of working or an approach or process, but they're not the be-all and end-all. For me, the reality is you can have as many certificates as you want, but if you can't do the job, you're not going to be any good to me. I would rather someone who has experience, if I'm honest with you, someone who, if I went into GitHub, I can see their Git repositories and see how they've been working. I'd rather someone who's been working at different clients, maybe even failing, but at least they've been working and understanding and getting experience of the different deliveries. The key thing is that I know a lot of people can go and get certificates. I know a lot of people are very good at cramming and passing exams, but when it comes to actually doing stuff, not many. Certifications are great, they're good. That's a business there in itself, but they're not the be-all and end-all. Right? Show how you can stand out, even though you have these certifications. That's important. Another trend I'm seeing is that a lot of clients are also looking to build out their in-house teams. So again, as a contractor or as a consultancy firm, you go in there, you have a project, let's say it's for 3 months, 6 months. We've always known that we weren't going to be there forever. So we need to be in the position or with the mindset that we're going to train up people to make sure that our clients can continue. Now, people might say, well, doesn't that put you out of a job? Well, not really, no, because you've now elevated them, but there is still new stuff that will come. And therefore you must be called back, or you will be called back to help them understand or work through the new stuff. And better still, what that also does is it instills more of a relationship, a camaraderie between you and the client, such that they can trust you. You know, you've given this view of, I'm going to leave here in 6 months, but when I leave here, you guys are going to be self-enabled. You're going to be able to create your own build systems. You're going to understand automation. You're going to be DevOps, if you like, if I want to use that word. I just created that, by the way. So yeah, that's another thing I think that we should really think about. How to make sure that we're empowering our clients such that they are ready for the future and they can also build out these teams. Now, with the financial situation as it is, you're going to see a lot of companies want to have these teams in-house. Contractors are not cheap, let's not lie. We are not cheap. And we're not cheap for a reason. But the business out there will want us to help them build out these teams internally. And then the final trend, and maybe I want to say this, is that we want to understand and work by modern engineering principles. And by that, I mean that there's a whole bunch of stuff that we know that is recent, is new. So using things like Terraform, understanding how to build and run infrastructure as code, understanding the link between DevOps and the security piece I just talked about, understanding how we can create something and make sure that we can run it in multiple cloud providers, understanding and being more and closer to the architecture team, right? There's this idea now that a role is emerging called the DevOps architect. And what that means is effectively someone who is in the thought leadership spectrum, but has been working in DevOps for a long time. And then the final thing, maybe just to link with that trend, is where does AI fit into all of this? Because at some point, there's going to be some things that we can use AI for. Even in the development side of things, you're now seeing things like ChatGPT being used to help developers. Well, I've seen someone use them actually to write pipelines, me being one of them, just to do a test. But you have other things like Copilot now being embedded into the developer's IDE. The key thing here is this: as a DevOps engineer, you are a developer. You will use IDEs, and there will be an equivalent of Copilot that does the DevOps-centric thing. Mark my words, not too long in the future, there will be something that you can actually prompt to create your architecture in either AWS, Azure, GCP, or in fact, maybe in all three, right? This is coming. There's no way that we can get away from it. So for me, the real people who are really interested in the future will start to embrace AI and understand what they can do with it in the DevOps field. Those are the 8 trends, I'd say. I've got a screen here about some analysis. This isn't really put on here to scare people, but current climate, there's a lot of layoffs. As I said, a lot of employees are looking to build in-house teams, so that they might say, oh, well, do I need to spend X amount of thousands a month on this consultant if I can build out a team? This comes full circle. At some point in the future, you're going to see another wave where they're going to want a lot of time from consultancy firms. It's going to rise up again. But the key thing with this period is that I would suggest that people who are already within projects use this to build up relationships. Understand, or get your client to understand, that the future means that you're still there to help them, embrace new technologies coming in the future. If you want to stand out, the key thing is you have to look at ways that make you stand out within the projects that you're in or within the companies that you're in. Training is important. As I said, you could do certification, but I don't think that beats experience. I think if you can get onto a lot of really good projects, that makes you stand out. Another thing that makes you stand out is your network. So what do we have? We have about 99 people, over 100 people on this call. How many of you guys know each other? How many of you guys will link up with each other after this? How many of you guys have been on the same project? How many of you guys, if asked, would recommend other people who are on this call, right? That's one thing in my view that's kind of missing from our industry, a way to, if you like, recommend people. I know there's things in LinkedIn, but it's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a system where you can actually say reliably, this guy, I know he's been working in the industry for 15 years and he's recommended those 2 people. Yes, I think he's vouched for them, and I can certainly take his vouch as gospel and interview those people or bring them onto projects, right? I think something like that would really revolutionize our industry. How can you avoid being made redundant? I don't think you can really. I put that in there, but really just to say, look, if you really do want to stay in an organization and actually not be part of that redundancy conversation, you really need to be doing the things I said previously. working on your brand, being at the forefront of the industry, being someone who's seen as a visionary. Those are the type of things, the type of traits I think that organizations are looking for. What's your brand? Are you just a DevOps engineer, or are you someone who actually is looking at growing into being a DevOps architect, SRE, etc., a leader? So it's all those things that you have to put together to make yourself stand out as a DevOps engineer and have a longer career in this field. Okay, I've just admitted someone into the room. So some examples, as you can see, of some of the roles that are available today. And again, this is taken from these two sites. None of these roles are mine. Sorry if you're looking for a job, I can't give you any of these, but this is typically what you're seeing online today. There is still work out there. There's a lot of work out there for DevOps engineers. There's a lot of work out there for DevOps managers or cloud DevOps managers. There's a lot of work out there for what I said is being called or deemed as a DevOps architect, someone who is effectively leading the DevOps team or the engineering team as part of the project. There's a heck of a lot of work there. And you can start to also see the per day rates that people are commanding. And some of these daily rates, again, I'll probably say these are quite conservative, but I've put them in there as an example. Now, yes, money is important. People get drawn by money. But in order for you to achieve and receive that constantly, you need to be doing things similar to what I've just been discussing around learning, around branding yourself, around being part of the right network, around using the right technologies, around thinking about the future, around thinking about security. So that's very brief. What I'd say to you guys, if you're really interested in a career in DevOps, there's going to be, I think, a link somewhere for you to sign up or respond or give some feedback. Otherwise, link me up on LinkedIn and let's have a chat. Thank you very much. Back to you, Solo.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. I know that more people joined us. Thank you for keeping it very simple, because the idea of today's session is to also, hear back from people and, get their questions. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. To those that are just joining, my name is you can call me Sola as well, which Emmanuel does. And of course, it's so good to have you here. So if you would like to connect with us at Cloud Booster, we have a Slack community, where, of course, some of you are already on the community as well. So we're going to put the community in the Slack channel, in the chat box, so you can join our community of cloud DevOps engineers. Just join the community and you can find out more about how to join programs like this. Okay, so now we're moving on to the Q&A session. So this is the part where we want to hear from you. What questions do you have about, a role in the cloud DevOps space? You can feel free to, put your hands up if you have any questions, and then we'll take you one after the other. So you can hear Emmanuel has spoken about a lot of things around, the trends that are happening in the DevOps space. How exactly do you future-proof your career? How do you make sure that you're not laid off, in this day and age that we live in, where people, companies can just wake up and, lay people off. He's spoken extensively about even the salary range, the kind of roles that you can take on, exactly all the trends that are happening and how that even integrates other technologies like AI. So thank you so much, Emmanuel, for that. Okay, so I'll take the first question by Paul. So Paul, so you can tell us your name, a bit about yourself, and then the question that you have. So go on, please, Paul.
Hello.
Okay, Paul, please go on. Ask your question. Your name, your location, and your question, please. We can't hear you, Paul.
I can hear you, Paul.
Hello. Can you guys hear me now?
Hey, Earth to Paul. How you doing, Paul?
I'm all right, Emmanuel.
Good.
Thanks for that insightful presentation.
Cool.
And my question will be around the aspect. So currently, I'm a student at Cloud Booster, and I also so I come from more of a project manager background.
Yeah.
My aim in itself is to really fully understand that DevOps in itself, but just to know from your perspective, as obviously you're in leadership too.
Yeah.
You saw as a project manager, how can you kind of use DevOps to as you said, it's kind of like stand out on the job market. And prior to that, I worked with Accenture, so obviously kind of like in similar environment. So yeah.
So did you work in Accenture or with Accenture?
Oh, in Accenture.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did. I was part of the ATC thing, but I was not based in London. I was based in Newcastle.
In Newcastle, okay. I work with those guys a lot, actually. Okay, cool. So, what? To be honest, what is your question?
So basically, I'm looking to do like a whole transition into more like I'm still into project management, but looking to kind of like mixed. I want to do a mixture of DevOps and that. So it's like how can I put that together to kind of sell myself on the job market?
Yep. So I think if you've done project management, so you're looking at things like you've done Agile. Have you done SAFe training?
Yeah, SAFe. I think it's a new one that came out. Yeah, but I haven't done that one. But the 5.1, Scrum, Kanban, all of that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So a lot of that leads into DevOps anyway, right? Quite simply, you need to have that understanding. And from an engineering side, then you'd work with a DevOps team. You'd probably be the one that at the morning calls is the Scrum Master that says, we should be doing this. We've got to hit these milestones here, the tickets, who's got this, that, and the other, right? So at a very sort of PM level, you probably have good visibility of what a DevOps team would be doing. It depends where you want to come in. And if you want to come in as an engineer, there's certain things that you need to learn. So you need to learn some development. You need to be able to do and have that ability to talk to developers and testers, right? It's a very, what you're talking about or the type of person you're talking about is quite niche and it's quite a good thing. If you're able to be someone who understands project management, planning, I'm very bad at planning and I know a lot of people will say that. If you're one of those people that can understand that side and also understand the DevOps side of things, you're going to get a lot of roles because there's not many people that do both, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But it's where you want to start. And if you want to come in as an engineer, you come in as someone who needs to learn around the basics of DevOps. So what is DevOps? What does a pipeline do? What kind of tools should I be expected to learn? What kind of languages should I learn, right? Python, Groovy, maybe some JavaScript as well. We kind of learn a lot of things, right? As a DevOps engineer, because if you think about it, when you work as a DevOps engineer, you're often thrown a bone and they say, okay, here's a tool that we want to put into this solution. Can you make sure that it will work and that we can build it and that we can automate it? Sometimes you might turn around and say, well, actually, you can't automate this tool, or it's going to take me X, Y, Z amount of time to do it. So it's having that mentality of a developer, but at the same time, keeping some of your mentality as a project manager. It's not going to be easy, bro, but I think it's one of those things that if you land it, you're going to be quite a commodity. You could probably command quite a decent amount of money. And if you're smart about it, what you can position yourself is in more of a leadership space, right? Yeah. So I would advise you actually not necessarily to go down the DevOps engineering route, but look at an architectural route. So understand how to build DevOps teams, understand the type of people that you need to run a good DevOps team. That's what I would advise you to start off. But your choice. If you want to be an engineer, the route I mentioned at the beginning is also available for you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So thank you so much, Paul. So I'll move on to the next person, Chief Afubu. Can you tell us your question, please?
Hey.
Hello, everybody. Hi. Hi, my name is Chief Afubu. I joined from the United States. I just have a question. I think the DevOps, the security ops you talked about, that really spiked my interest. And, I just want to find out, is there a defined career path to that?
I would say that the label DevSecOps is really what DevOps is anyway. right? It should just be security centric. And that goes all the way. So I talked a little bit about being security cleared. I talked about having that mentality of security first. But if you think about it like this, if you're leaving your house, you always check the doors, right?
That's right.
So check your keys, right? So you're already thinking security. You don't want to leave your windows open. You don't want to make your house vulnerable.
That's right.
Right? So as a DevOps engineer, if you're already creating pipelines, working in a team, you must have a security focus. It's only now really that the lens of security has come up because of maybe various threats that have happened in the past, various breaches that may have happened in the past, or also maybe this whole idea now that we are getting more, if you like, ingrained or interfaced into digital, that if we're not thinking about security, we're asking for trouble. So yeah, it's a buzzword, but it's really what DevOps should be. It's not, we shouldn't just say DevOps and DevSecOps. We are all doing security in DevOps. It has to be that as a basis. Now, here's the thing. If you're able to work with the security guys and understand the whole concept around what good security means, and you match that with your understanding of DevOps, then I think you're also in a good space, right? Banks will need you, financial services, insurance companies, they're very security centric. Anything that's going to deal with money, come on, humans, they're going to put security on that. On top of that, healthcare, right? Anything that has human data, the human element, is going to be security focused. But look, even if you went to work for a small company that was just creating a website, you should also do that securely, surely, right? You want to have, if you think about it, a good certificate system. They might sell stuff in the shop. You want to make sure that the shop is not vulnerable for attack, right? Always think about security. So from, just to answer your question, I hope it's not too long, but security is focused in everything we do. It's not just a small career, it's the whole thing.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure, because I already have a background in IT auditing and information security as well.
Yep.
So I'm trying to make sure that no experience is wasted. That's just my way of trying to align my past experience with, where I'm trying to go.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you. Okay, so let's call on Alex next. Please ask your question, and then we'll take some questions in the chat box. Cool. Alex, please tell us your question, your name, your location, and your question, please.
All right. Thank you very much. I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, we can, Alex. Loud and clear.
All right. Thanks for that electrifying presentation. Okay, my name is Alex, and I'm calling from Nigeria, Abuja, to be precise. Nice. So, for the past few months to more than a year, I've been trying to gather some skills in DevOps, and I have a question regarding the entry-level roles. I don't have background in tech or computer science. I'm coming from a health background, and most times when I see these job adverts, most of the skills they advertise or they ask requirements, I actually have them, but when I apply, I don't really get to probably even get an interview of sorts. So I don't know, is there a trajectory, is there a way to pattern, like rather position yourself better, to be able to assess the DevOps world, or just how do I enter? So that's been a challenge for me for some months now.
Yeah, I think for someone like you, who's not really been in the field, look at some training, look at some certifications, the entry-level ones first, right? They're not the be-all and end-all, but I think that's going to be the first part for you, right? Look at creating your own projects. So for example, if I said to you, name a few services in AWS, can you do that?
Yes, I can.
Right? Okay, good. Name some services in AWS that are very useful if I wanted to build a website. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? Have you ever built a website that is running in AWS or Google Cloud? Do you have source code in GitHub? Do you have example projects that you've done? Have you done any? Do you see what I mean, right?
Yeah.
You need to live it. You need to do it. So again, I'm talking from experience here, but I was using AWS probably before they even started doing the certifications in AWS, because I just wanted to understand what it is, right? What I could do with it. So that's one thing. I think that's one easy, quick way you can get experience. Another thing as well, and this is going to sound very strange, is offer up your services, maybe even initially for free, on some community projects. I work with a few charities and I build them websites, and I use the same methods that I work within big companies to build these websites. So I put things into version control. I look at vulnerabilities. I look at all that stuff. So I'm working through it, just using, if you like, my hobbies, right? And those are things that you can put on your CV. That's what you've been doing, right?
Yeah.
When you go into the entry-level roles, you should talk about these things in interviews. Here's what I've been doing. Yes, I don't have experience of someone who came out of uni or has the IT degree, but here's a view of my portfolio of the website that I've built, and I've been using these methodologies, or I've been using these languages, or I've been using these DevOps practices to build them. That's a starting point. I'm not going to guarantee that you get a job, but I think that will get you a way to get in, is my view.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Cool, thank you, Alex. We have Paul again. Please feel free. Okay, so before I take Paul, thank you, Alex. I'll just take a few questions in the chat box, please. So we have people asking. I think I'm already trying to answer. The people are asking the difference between. Okay, let me take Abigail's question first, and then the other one. So Abigail says, thank you for the very enlightening session. I'd like to know how we get the security clearance you talked about. Also, will I need before I become a DevOps engineer? Also, what is the starting role for a DevOps engineer? So the person is trying to understand, more about the security clearance, and do they need to do that before they become DevOps engineers?
No. I think, as I said, it's a trend. I think a lot of projects are going to look to get security cleared people. And those are the type of people I think that will, if you like, be in demand, right? It doesn't mean that if you don't have it, you're not going to get a role, right? But it just means those are the ones that I think should I put someone on mute? We've got someone. Okay, that's gone. Cool. So yeah, that's, I think, what will be in demand. So it doesn't restrict you. Most of the time, the projects that you go into will require security clearance, and they will put you onto a security clearance, if you like, process. There's different levels. It's worth going to the government website and having a look at those levels. Typically, it will be government projects that require you to do that. Banks do their own type of security clearance. Of course, because it's security, they may not divulge how they do it fully, right? Because otherwise people can just go out and get them. So it's typically as you get the role, or as you discuss the role, that you understand what level of security clearance they require. But you don't need it before you become a DevOps engineer. I would suggest, as I said to Chief, and I forget the other guy's name, Paul, is to look at the starting points, look at the basics, right? Look at the training, look at how you can work yourself in your hobbies using DevOps principles. Look at the roles that you have today. So let's say, for example, you're working in a firm that builds websites and you're part of the dev team. Maybe you can start to introduce to them how they do DevOps, how they do release management, how they do code scanning, how they do peer reviews, how they do infrastructure as code, those sort of things that are in the DevOps space. And that's, for me, how internally you can build your career, right? I hope that gives you a brief answer.
Yeah, please let us know in the chat box if that answers your question. Thank you so much. And then we have people asking, what's the difference? So, okay, someone says, as a newbie in cloud with an associate, what entry-level roles can one apply for? Is solution architect an entry-level role? And should we apply for solutions architect role?
No, is the short answer.
Exactly.
I think, as I said, DevOps engineering is quite broad, but look at the things I think in the role spec. If you're going to be writing pipelines, if you're going to be writing, creating infrastructure as code using Terraform or CloudFormation, if you're going to be using tools like Ansible, if you're going to be working on, if you like, pre-production all the way to production, right? So you're doing part of dev, pre-production, and at some point when it goes into production, it's operational, ops, hence the term DevOps. If you understand how to link the two, and you want to be an engineer that's in that space of a delivery, then yes, you should go into DevOps and become a DevOps engineer. Now, a DevOps architect or a solution architect, in my view, is not an entry-level role. That requires you to have some experience. That requires you to have been working with architects. And architects, enterprise architects, they're a different kind of beast. These are the people that understand, if you like, what the whole project should look like from a technical level, soup to nuts, everything. As a DevOps engineer, you may start just by understanding how you build certain aspects of the environment and maybe how you stub or connect to other things, right? As a DevOps architect, what you then starts to happen is that you start to get closer to the architects. So they all, they might say, okay, we want to secure this system. What do we do to secure this system? Oh, as a DevOps engineer, so well, actually, you might want to have MTLS everywhere or everywhere that you can put it, right? So that's mutual certification, right, between the different services that you create. You might want to be in the position where if you need to destroy your environment, you can fully destroy it and rebuild it from code, okay? So you're bringing the DevOps processes and ideas into the architectural world. So at that point, you can sit side by side with an architect at the beginning of a project and design an architectural solution that is DevOps centric. That's where you become a part of solution architecture. That's where you become a DevOps architect. That's the nuance. But you need to evolve to that. Cool.
Yeah, thank you, Emmanuel. So we have just about 2 minutes more. So I'm just going to take Paul again. If you have any questions, by the way, if you have any questions that are unanswered, you can definitely link up with us on our community channel as well. Okay, Paul, can we have your question, please? And you can still put some questions in the chat box for the last minute that we have. Paul, yeah, your question, please.
Thank you. Just coming back with from the point that you gave about the ability to sort of understand the roles of everyone within DevOps. Does that require some technicality? Because it looks similar to sort of like a solutions architect, whereby you have to understand sort of like the processes at the high level. So what sort of like?
Well, so I'd probably say solution architect is quite general. I work with a solution architect, and they're very close to solutioning, if I can use that word, how much it will cost, the money. Now, as a DevOps architect, you can start to think that way as well, yeah, because you want to make sure that you're not spawning out services. Let's say AWS is going to cost a fortune, but you're not a solution architect. You are someone who's informing or can work with a solution architect. There are things and skills that they have that you don't need to have. And likewise, there's skills that you have and knowledge that you have around what makes a good pipeline. How many engineers do you need to build out a pipeline to, let's say, build a customer's front end and back end system, right? Those are things that they would ask you for advice on. And then a solution architect can then create the solution based on input from you. In the same way that an enterprise architect may ask you for advice around what is good practice in DevOps as they're building out the architecture for an entire system. So that's where you start to fit in. And what I was saying is that DevOps architect role is now being elevated to be as close to the architects as possible on these different projects. Whereas before, it was kind of seen as an afterthought, as I said at the beginning of the call, right? It's now been seen as very important for projects. One thing I forgot to mention in trends, and it's a very important one, I just thought about it, and I kind of sort of touched on it, is cloud transformation. You're going to hear that a lot.
Okay.
A lot of projects are saying, we have a lot of stuff that was legacy, that's on-prem. How do we get it onto the cloud? How do we make use of the cloud, right? And a DevOps engineer may not necessarily be a cloud engineer, but those roles are starting to converge.
Oh, okay.
Right. And I think, I hope that answers the question. But yeah, we are not solution architects, but we certainly do get involved in the solution at a very, very early stage.
Okay, thank you very much, Emmanuel. And just to add, because coming from a perspective that for people that haven't been in DevOps, and there's the aspect of you emphasizing on having hands-on, so not just doing certifications.
That's right.
And for people like us, and I do believe a lot of us, and I saw situations whereby we don't know where we're going to find those projects. What would be an ideal pathway to kind of like go about to find projects that will look that recruiters will be interested with? So in a sense where if we're all doing charity projects, or I think recruiters might be a bit apprehensive, but what will something that, let's say if I'm trying to get a project in something financial, how do I go about that?
Getting a project in the financial is not easy.
Okay.
They are very strict around who they pull in for obvious reasons, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't get the skills that you need. And as you know, you talked about it. Yes, do some free stuff. Maybe there's something in your community that they need to build, I don't know, a billing system. Get involved, right? Look at, if you like, solutions that people already have online. And some of them are free, right? If you go into GitHub, you could probably do a couple of searches on how people have built simple CMS systems, simple billing systems, right? See how they work. Take them, understand them, because if it's free and they allow you to look at their source code, say, oh, maybe I can try and build this myself and see how a pipeline looks for this. Oh, look, it's got vulnerabilities. How can I fix those, right? And build up your portfolio that way. Work for free if you can. Or work for cheap, right? Look at some charities and offer your services and see how that helps. Also, a key thing as well is, if you can, get some metrics. How bad were they before you were involved? And how good did they become after you were involved? That's another way to bolster up your portfolio. All right?
Okay. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. I'm going to connect with you on LinkedIn. So thank you very much.
Do that.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Just two more questions. One from the call and then one in the chat box, and that will be all for today. By the way, if you have questions in the chat box, we're already answering them. You can watch a replay on our YouTube channel as well. It's currently being streamed. Okay, so I'll just take Benga. Benga, could you ask your question, please? Your name, your location, and what question you have. And then we'll take one more in the chat box, and that'll be all for this session. So Benga, please tell us your question.
Oh, hi. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I just want to quickly know, because I'm from system administration stroke infrastructure engineer background.
Yeah.
And I've been looking at DevOps. And I'm wondering, what's really like the relationship? Is there like a link?
Yeah.
So coming from that background, do you think it gives me an edge, or does it make things easier? Yeah.
I'm not going to say it makes it easier. I think there's a lot of things that you're already doing that a DevOps engineer does and understands. There'll be some things that are new to you. So yes, you're a systems admin or you've been building infrastructure, but have you been version controlling the way that you build infrastructure?
Oh, no. Yeah.
Right? Do you understand configuration management? Those are the type of things that you'll start to absorb. So, and already there's the difference, right? That's just one thing. But I think because you've kind of been inside the system, it gives you a little bit of an edge over, let's say, someone who's maybe coming from the PM world or someone who hasn't ever done development. Because you understand what you expect from the system. And as a DevOps engineer, you want to make sure that, as I keep saying, I'll repeat it, you want to secure your system. You want to make sure that it's efficient. You want to make sure that things are automated. Now, sysadmin, I did quite a lot of Linux admin stuff at home and at work. And I was always thinking, yeah, this is quite monotonous. How can I automate that? That's my, your mindset. How can I write a script that, does a bash job, right? That across 100 machines. How can I update all the SSH keys across all my estate, right? How do I automate that? So already if you're thinking that way, you're a step towards being a DevOps engineer. Then look at tooling, then look at ways of working, then look at understanding agile, then look at how you fit into delivery. Not last but not least, look at security, right? Then you start to see where you fit in. More times than not on projects, they say they'll hire on a DevOps team and they have an engineering team that manages infrastructure. These, as I said at the top, as a trend, is starting to converge. So you're going to have these teams now that have DevOps engineers, infrastructure people, and they're going to learn from each other to create this almost homogeneous team that can do DevOps engineering. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Manuel. So the very, very last question on Zoom, someone is saying, I'm currently an architect, as in building architect.
All right.
No, if I would like to know if it's realistic for me to juggle both career paths, or I would have to completely drop one. In simpler terms, is it very time consuming? That's the final question.
Everything is as time consuming as you want to make it, I would say. You can start something small on the side. You can sign up to some companies that give you very simple tasks for delivery. I think guru.com. I was going to say, I'll say the name Fiverr. I'm not really a big fan because I think there's a lot of scammers on there, but I'll say it anyway. But it's those type of companies where you can get very simple tasks and you can execute them. That's good training. You can put your name out there. On LinkedIn, you can say you're open for work. You can give examples of your work. And I'm sure if someone needs something, they could probably link up with you as well, right? Build your network, right? You're an architect. I suppose in the architect field, you've got a big network. Start to join DevOps forums, DevOps conversations, things like this. Go to Cloud Booster, right? Get some training, that sort of stuff, right? Do those things. And I think if you start to think in those terms, start from small, get bigger. At some point, maybe you start earning more money as a DevOps engineer. You drop the other one. Yeah, that's probably as best advice I can give you. I don't want you to drop anything.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. If you feel like you still have a question that hasn't been answered, please join our Slack community. You can connect with us and we'll be able to ask all your other questions. We'll also put a link to the YouTube replay for this session. You can connect with Emmanuel on LinkedIn as well. The link is also in our chat. So that brings us to the end of our session today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Please stay connected with us. We're going to have more of this kind of webinars coming up. Just come. We want to be that place where you can go to find out more about how you can transition into cloud, into DevOps, and how you can really, really grow your career in this space. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. If you can just tell us in one word how your experience with us has been today in the chat box, that will be really, really helpful. That being said, please enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and thank you very much for joining us today. And thank you, Emmanuel, for coming to share from your wealth of wisdom. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Cheers, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Salah.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you very much.